track of the attendance, and I've seen the level of commitment from the students. I'd like to thank the instructors that had taught before myself, Miss Blessing, Mr. Dominic, for the good work you've done so far. Most importantly, to Mr. Oladoto, who sets up our meetings. Thank you so much for the availability. And I've seen your projects. I've been seeing projects. I've been seeing the good works that you guys have put online, and it's very encouraging for we the instructors. We see the projects that you've embarked on and how you've been documenting your journey, not neglecting our 90 days challenge that we initiated from the start. So once again, a very big thank you to everybody. So quick introduction. My name is Favor, Adelani Favor, and I'll be the instructor for Power BI in this bootcamp. I'm very sure we've learned quite a lot from Excel up until SQL, and I know that the majority of us have been looking forward to teaching on SQL. So once again, it's good to have everybody here today. So for those who have just joined us, welcome once again. All right, so now I want to firstly begin today's class by giving us a simple breakdown. Let's see today's session as an introductory session. We are going to be exploring a few things, understanding a few concepts, and we try to go as practical as we can go, as we know that this is a time-bound teaching. All right. So if you can still hear me, I'd just like you to signify before we proceed. Just leave a reaction.
Yeah, we can hear you.
All right, thank you, Oladimeji. Okay, now basically, if you have used Power BI before, can you please signify by raising your hands? You've used Power BI before. Just signify by raising your hands. Okay, Paul raised his hands. I'm seeing Lawal has his hands up. Winnie, you have your hands up. I see Joanne is reacting. All right. So that means, thank you. You can drop your hands there. Thank you. So that means a majority of us present here have used Power BI before, which is actually very important, and which is actually very good. Now, I don't know if Lawal is still there. Lawal, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right, if you can. So what do you know about Power BI? What does Power BI do?
Yeah, good evening, everyone. My
Good
name is
evening.
Lawal Oladimeji. It's nice being here. To me, Power BI is for data visualization.
Okay.
After we have cleaned our data, after we have go through our data and analyze it. Hello?
I'm sure Lawal, please go on.
Okay. After we've cleaned our data and done our data cleaning and data after we've done everything about our data. So Power BI will help us to visualize our data, knowing the key points of our data sets, how by giving us a chart on it, whether a pie chart, a bar chart, and giving us the key insights of our data sets. So
All right.
that's what I know about Power BI.
Okay. So thank you very much for that contribution, Lawal. Now basically, like Lawal said, I think I want to give room for one more person to talk. Winnie, are you there? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Oh, okay. Am I pronouncing your name right?
Yes, you are. Winnie Madikizela.
Oh, okay. Now, I think you raised your hand that you've used Power BI before. So what did you do with Power BI, if I may ask?
So I've used Power BI to visualize the results of the analysis. For
Oh, okay.
example, after I've cleaned the data, then I've
Oh, okay.
analyzed so the results. I've used it to visualize the results using different charts
Oh, okay.
and graphs. Yeah,
Oh, okay. Thank you very much
yeah.
for that. Now, so thank you for these contributions. I'd just like to proceed. Basically, we've all mentioned something similar. We said that Power BI is a data visualization tool that we use Power BI to, you know, use charts, use graphs. When Lawal was speaking, he said one of the things that he did with Power BI was that after data cleaning and data transformation, he was able to also gain insights. Now, basically, I want to start today's teaching by giving us an introduction to data visualization. If you were consistent during the teaching in the Excel series, you'd see that Miss Blessing already did a fantastic job for taking us all the way from the basics of Excel to advanced Excel and data visualization in Excel. So that has already laid a very good foundation for what we are about to do today. And from this series of teaching, we are just going to be exploring what Power BI can do. And because of how well my colleague had already taught some things, I don't want us to be, repetitive. I won't go back on some things, but we can be sure that one of the things we can expect that we'll do in this Power BI teaching is, at the very least, to build two dashboards and explore some very important features of Power BI. Mind you, this teaching will be taking us not just teaching us about Power BI. We would also be learning, because as a data analyst, you're a little bit of everything. You've got to know colors for design. You've got to know a little bit of statistics and mathematics at the very least, just to be able to make your work processes a lot smoother. So that's what we're going to be doing. So basically, let me begin today's class by defining what data visualization is. So basically, it's a lot more visually pleasing when you see numbers turned into visuals. When you see charts, when you see graphs, when you see maps, it's usually a lot more visually pleasing that way to have your numbers put in visual format. So data visualization is that process where data is presented in visual formats such as charts, graphs, and maps. And for the sake of data visualization in this series, we are going to be looking at using Microsoft Power BI for data visualization. Now, one of the major importance of data visualization is because not every person you're presenting your data to is tech savvy, is math savvy, is statistics savvy. They, visuals make it easier to understand your numbers. Visuals make it easier to communicate your insights. Visuals make it easier. And mind you, visuals are more aesthetically pleasing than just numbers. You know, a couple of people say the numbers can be boring, or the numbers can, but basically, with visuals, you're able to implement other artistic elements like colors, like shapes, and all of that. And that way, it looks a lot easier to understand. I hope we're still together. All right. Thank you. Thank you very much. So I want to do something quickly. Now, I would like Lawal, are you there?
I'm here, sir.
All right. So whenever I ask if we're still there, I'd like one of you or Winnie to be, I don't want the class to be clumsy. So I'd like one of you to be the ones responding. Just let me know that you can still hear me, if that is fine.
Okay.
All right, thank you. So now, basically, some of us here, or most of us here already visualized in Excel. So I wouldn't be saying too much on data visualization. We already explored some data visuals like bar charts, line charts, pie charts, and I could see that a few people who have worked even tried to explore scatter plots and other type of visuals in Power BI. But one major thing that we need to know when we are visualizing is that there are specific charts that are more suitable for specific purposes. So when we get into Power BI properly, we are going to be establishing this fundamental knowledge on, there's something I like to tell my students, that we have practice and then we have best practice. That you can visualize a particular trend or visualize a particular metric with a particular type of chart does not mean you selected the best chart. So in data visualization, there are various visual types, but the four main ones that I'll be describing here, as you can see on the screen, are bar charts, line charts, pie charts, and scatter plots. Some of us must have already gotten to explore other chart types like maps, the ribbon charts, cards, and tables. So when we get into Power BI proper, I'd also be establishing the truths or the facts about these visual types. I hope we're still clear on that. Okay, now let me take us quickly to a Power BI introduction. I'd like to take us quickly to a Power BI introduction. What is Microsoft Power BI? Now, Microsoft Power BI is a data visualization and business intelligence tool that belongs to Microsoft. Part of the reasons why we learn Microsoft Power BI is so that we continue in the Microsoft workspace. You already learned Excel. So, we like to keep our students within that workspace. Okay, you continue from Excel and go to Power BI. Mind you, there are a lot of other data visualization tools. For example, Local Studio is one, Tableau is one, IBM Cognos is one. But Power BI has unique features that we'll be exploring for the course of our teaching. Now, what are the features in Power BI that makes it a very useful data visualization tool? One of the major truths about Power BI is that, what should I say, one of the major strengths about Power BI, I'm very sure for those of us that have installed it, what we have on our system is Power BI Desktop. Aside the fact that Power BI can connect to various data sources, you can connect Power BI to spreadsheets, you can connect Power BI to databases, you can connect Power BI to servers, you can even extract from PDFs into Power BI. Thank God for the Excel class we had before, where we were able to explore Power Query and some advanced features of Excel. And that's what is going to make this class a lot easier to understand for us, because that foundational knowledge has already been laid. So in Power BI is data connectivity. You can connect to a lot of data sources. Now, let me just go to the Power BI interface quickly and show us what I mean. All right. Can you see my Power BI screen?
Yeah, we
Yes.
can see it, sir.
All right. Thank you.
Yes.
Okay. Now, basically, from the first time you install Power BI on your system, one of the things that you have is that you get a welcome to Power BI message. As you can see here, we have a blank report.
Sorry, I can't see your screen.
Oh, okay. I is that on? Is it? Can any other person see my screen just to verify?
Yes, yes, okay.
Okay.
Yes, we
All
can
right.
see.
Okay. Whoever that is that cannot see my screen, I'd like you to just leave the call and join in again. It might be a network issue. So, okay. Can I proceed, please? All right. So now, basically, as I was saying, this is what, when you open Power BI from start, this is what you get. You get a welcome to Power BI where you're supposed to see your recent works. As you can see here, this is the Power BI interface when you first click command in, and you see a shared with me, works that are shared with you if your account is signed in. We are basically still going to explore some of these settings. Now, if I may ask for those of us who are listening to me, what did you build when you did your visualization in Excel? What did you build?
Dashboard.
Sorry, who's talking, please?
This is Moise.
All right, Muiz, what did you build in? All right, Joan is saying dashboard. Muiz said dashboard too.
Yes, sir.
Okay, okay. Now, but if you notice here, when we want to create a blank, Power BI is saying blank reports. It's not saying blank dashboard. And what we have come here to do is to build a. So now, let me tell us the difference between a report and a dashboard, if that is fine by us. Now, basically, it's very easy to confuse a report and a dashboard. There are a few similarities between them, but I would just like to differentiate them. Now, the major difference between a report and a dashboard is in the details, and I'll explain what I mean. Most times, a dashboard is usually single page or having a few key views, A dashboard is usually interactive with filters and all of that. But you see, a report, anytime you are building a report, one of the features that it will have that you'll be able to say this is a report is that number one, most reports are multi-paged. If you have to build a dashboard where we have to start scrolling from one place to the other to view another thing, or going from one page to the other to view another page of your report, then what you have is no longer a dashboard, it is now a report. Another thing that differentiates a dashboard, a report from a dashboard, is that reports usually include almost everything that your stakeholders or whoever you built the report or the report for would need to know. I saw the works that we did in Excel, and I saw that most of us included our insights and our recommendations. Or is that not so? So, as a data analyst who is going to be building dashboards, making reports, one of the things that you have to consider is who is going to use the dashboard or who is going to read the report you are sending. UI UX is also an important part of making reports. Okay, I'm seeing Prince. Prince, your hand is up. Please, do you have a question? Go ahead.
Sorry, apologies. I was yanked off by network, so I didn't get the part where you wanted to differentiate between a report and a dashboard. Please, can you run it back again, please? Thank you.
All right then, sure, thank you. So now, basically, maybe I should just show you guys let me just try to show you practically what I would call a report and what I would call a dashboard. Okay, so let me Now, I was saying earlier that one of the differences between a dashboard and a report is that most times dashboards are usually single paged. Though they are interactive, of course, both your report and your dashboard should be interactive. I said before that they both have similar features in them that will make you, okay, yeah, this is a dashboard or this is a report. But one of the major differences is that the difference is usually in the details. If whatever you are building in your maybe Excel or Power BI or Looker Studio already is multi-paged and has extensive details up until insights, up until recommendations, what you have is no longer a dashboard. It has now become a report. If I gave a task to one of you now and I said, okay, clean this data, transform this data, make visuals out of this and give me a report. If when you visualize, you also insert enough details, such as insights and recommendations, like some of you already did when you built your visuals in Excel, then what you have is no longer a dashboard. I hope we're clear on that, Prince.
Absolutely. Yeah.
All right, thank you. So now, basically, let me show us an example of what I would describe as a report. I hope you can still hear me though. Please, at any point in time, if you cannot hear me, just signify that you cannot hear me any longer. Okay, so can we see what we have on the screen?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, now, okay, thank you. Basically, why would from the definition that I gave earlier, this is a report that we've contributed. We are able to navigate to, there are 5 pages, or should I say 6 pages on this. Each of them taking us to various pages with various functions, with various visuals, where we can derive various insights from. So do you think this is a report or this is a dashboard?
This is a report, sir.
A report.
Oh, okay. Okay. Now, why would you call this a report?
Because it has more than a page.
Okay, that's one. Thank you. Thank you, Joanne.
And it has features whereby you can move from one page.
All right. Thank you very much. Does any other person want to contribute? Oh, okay. Thank you. Now, basically, let's go straight into what we have in the Power BI. Now, basically, Power BI exists in 3 forms. We have Power BI Desktop, we have Power BI Service, and we have Power BI as a mobile app that you can download and have on your smartphones. The one you download on your phone, the application, this one that we are seeing on our screens now, this is Power BI Desktop, as you can see right above here. Whenever you sign into your Microsoft account and you publish your work to the Power BI server, that is Power BI service. So what I was showing you before was on Power BI service. As you could see that the interface was a little different to what we would normally have in our normal Power BI. So basically, Power BI service, that is Power BI that is a part of Microsoft Fabric on the web. Power BI Desktop, the one that we install locally on our laptops that we can use without the internet. Then Power BI Mobile, a version of Power BI that is downloadable on our phones. I hope we're still together.
Yes, sir.
All right. So for anybody who is following along, maybe you've got your laptop with you. Now, as you can see, I just want to walk us through the interface very quickly. Like I said earlier, this is an introductory class to Power BI. And luckily for me, a few people here have already used Power BI in previous times. Now, basically, I'm going to start from beneath here. I'm going to start explaining the interface right from beneath here. You see that we have an icon that looks like a desktop here. This is the desktop view. That is how it would look like if it is opened on a desktop. Then we have the mobile view, which is right next to it. And this will show you how your visual would look like if it is opened or created on a smartphone. That's why you can see the layout of the phone here, right beside this. Here, right beside this layout, we have the next and previous page buttons. We have the page itself. Of course, each page in your report, just the same way in Excel, you have a workbook as the entirety of the file, and each page or each file in it is called a worksheet. That's the same way in Power BI, the totality of what you're doing is a report, and each part is called a page. To create a new page, you just click on this plus icon right next to it, and we have page 1 and page 2. So basically, we have this as the navigation buttons. So if I click on next page, you see it's going to ask me what page I want to go to. Just like our knowledge from Excel, like I said before, the reason why we had our classes structured like this is so that knowledge that we gained before can become useful as we progress. I'm very sure we already did things similar to this when we were exploring the Excel interface. If I want to rename this, I'm just going to right click on the page itself and say rename, and I can call it whatever I want to call it. Let me just call it one page. Now, from the interface again, you see that we have, don't forget when we did Excel, during the class with Miss Blessing, she explained to us that right above here, what we have here are called tabs, and what we have beneath them are called what? Can anybody that remembers remind me? If these are called tabs, what do we call these icons that we can see below?
Groups.
Sorry, did somebody say groups?
Yes.
Command.
Oh,
Yeah, commands.
okay. Oh, okay. Someone said commands. Any other person? Maybe there's any other word that you. Somebody said commands. Somebody said groups. So basically, if these are called the tabs, then we can also call this the ribbons. These icons beneath here, we can call them the ribbons. Now, first things first, whatever it is, there is no data analysis without data. The same way there's no data visualization without data. This is why one of the first things you need to do before coming into Power BI is to already have data that you want to work with. Just like the same way we did in Excel class. Of course, we did in the SQL class as well. Whatever I want to do, we are performing these tasks and these actions on data. Are we still together? So now, if you see right on top here, we have the tabs, and then we have the ribbons right beneath it. This is the Home tab. In the Home tab, we have Get Data and a few data sources. Data and the interface and I'm very glad we had a very good class in Excel. So we have data sources that we can connect Power BI to. We have data sources that we can connect Power BI to. And that's why we have some of them listed here. We have Excel, SQL Server, paste data into a blank table, use sample data. Most times, the data we bring here is usually from a spreadsheet, say in CSV format, say in XLSS format. At times, we bring in PDFs and extract the data in the PDF. At times, we connect directly to SQL Server. For the purpose of these teachings, we are going to be using both a CSV file and an XLSS file. Now, if you look to the right, you will see we have some 4 buttons here, which I'd like to just explain. All these are called views. The first of them is one that we call the report view. Basically, this report view is where you build your visuals. We have the table view. Now, don't forget, I already said before when I started the class that there are a few similarities in functions and interface between Excel and Power BI. And one of them is that the table view would show you your data in normal spreadsheet form, in table form, that is row and column. Like we all know, a table is made up of rows and columns. We have the model view. How many of us were in the sessions where we went through data visualization in Microsoft Excel? If you were there, can you just signify by raising your hands? Okay, Oluwadamilala raised her hand. I can see your hand. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, Prince, thank you. So you can drop your hands. Thank you. So basically, can somebody just quickly tell me what were the things that you did when you did data modeling?
Is to form relationship between the tables that you want to use for visualization.
Oh, okay, thank you, Oluwadamilala. Joanne, your hands are up. Do you want to say something?
Yes. So what we did during the Excel was to connect each tables based on keys, right? So for the fact tables and then the dimension tables, we connected them based on informations that we know that can link them up. For example, the ID in one table can be connected to the ID in another table. So that was how we were able to form relationship. I don't know if I was able to like communicate.
Yeah, thank you. That was very clear and that was well received. Thank you very much. You can drop your hands. So basically, I'm talking to people who know what we are doing here. And that's a very good one for me. That has made my job a lot easier, that we understand what it is that we're doing here. We have the DAX query view here. Now, DAX is one of the important features of Power BI that makes it unique as well. As we go on in the series of teachings, we are going to be taking a look at DAX and at some point coming to see what we can do here. So majorly for now, we are going to be doing most of our works in the report view. Okay. So like I said before, whenever you want to visualize data, whatever it is you want to perform using data, you must have data. If you look to the right-hand side, you will see we have a few panes. We have a few panes here. We have the filter pane, we have the visualization pane, and then we have the data pane. Now, whenever you import or load your data into Power BI, the file that you brought in, the spreadsheet, the data will appear here in the data pane. For visualizations, we have a variety of visual types that we can select from to visualize. All of this would make more sense when we bring in the data we are going to be working with. Just to clarify, I hope we have downloaded the data that we will be using for today. It was uploaded to the classroom yesterday. I hope we've downloaded the data set that we'll be using today, just so anyone is not left behind. All right. Okay. So I'm going to now proceed to importing my data from where. Now, you see we have get data here. We are trying to bring in data. So I'm going to click on get data. We have Excel workbook, Power BI semantic models, data flows. All these are data sources that you can bring in data from. I hope you know that SQL Server belongs to Microsoft as well. So it means you can navigate in their workspace, connecting both of the applications together. For the sake of today's class, we are going to be importing data from a spreadsheet. It is in CSV format. During the Excel class, I'm very sure we were explained to the Excel file types. So can somebody tell me, Abby, what CSV means? When we say CSV, what does CSV mean? Joanne, please go ahead.
Separated file.
It
Comma
means
separated.
separated. Someone said it already.
All right.
Sorry.
All right. So Adeyemi, can Adeyemi hear me? So now, basically, the file I want to work with, I already uploaded it in the classroom. For those of us who would like access to it, please ensure to download it. Is Adeyemi still on this call? Adeyemi, can you hear me?
Oh yes, I was speaking. I never knew I was muted.
Oh, okay. Now, can you tell me, is there a difference between a CSV file and an Excel workbook file? Is there a difference between both of them?
Yeah, a CSV file is a file that has their values in a row and then also includes comma or other delimiters like
Okay.
semicolon and this forward slash or space. Then why the Excel file, it's a structured data in a that stores in a, is a structured data in a tabular format.
Okay. Thank you very much for that. Now, basically, the file we are trying to work with today is a CSV file. If you click on Excel workbook, like I have just done, it's going to open my file manager. So Power BI is going to open my file manager. And can we still see my screen?
Yes, we can still see your screen.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Now, you can see that I'm trying to look for an Excel file, XLXX, but I'm not seeing what I'm looking for. That's because the file, the data set we're about to work with is not in Excel workbook format. It is in a comma separated value format. So like Adeyemi was saying earlier, both of them are different file types. So I'm just going to go back and now click on the text or CSV. Okay, now I've seen what I'm looking for. This is the data set we're going to be working with, and I'm going to press OK. Good. Now, how many of us remember working with Power Query in Excel? Can you tell me what Power Query does?
It helps transform and load data.
All right, thank you. Now, there is a data analytics term that is called ETL, that is extraction, transformation, and loading. So extract, transform, and load. Basically, what Power Query does, like my friend here just said, is that Power Query enables us to transform and load data. Now, let me show you a preview of this same data set in Excel. Let me show us a quick preview of this same data set in Excel. Okay, can we see this data set? So this is what this data set looks like in Microsoft Excel. This data has well over 10,000 rows. It has well over 10,000 rows of data. But that's not even the major talking point. Now, if you look at these city columns, you see the way the cities are spelled here because of special characters. Now, let's go back to Power BI and you see what Power Query has done. Okay, so are we still with me? Can you see now? Now, all those words that appeared like special characters in Excel and that Excel could not format properly, Power Query could. And you can see that they are not as scattered. They are not spelled wrongly. They appeared to taking a look at this data. So we have load, transform data, and cancel. Let's take a good look at the data before we bring it into Power BI properly. Good. So now we are on the Power Query editor. As you can see right here, that we are now on the Power Query editor, but still inside of Power BI. Don't forget what we are here to do is to check if there are any anomalies with our data set. Now, as much as it is good for the report to look nice, to select the right colors, to select the right charts, to use the right elements, it is most important to have accurate and clean data because dirty data will produce wrong information. And if care is not taken, the user or the organization that is going to leverage on your data will make wrong decisions based on the data or the insights that we provide. So that's why data cleaning, data transformation is very, very important. Now,
Sorry,
if you
sir.
look at, yeah,
Am
sorry,
I the only one? I can't
okay.
see Power. Wait. I'm just saying Power BI. I mean,
Yes, actually, I wanted to mention it.
Oh, okay. Let me quickly look into that. Thank you for calling my attention to that. Okay, how about now? Can you see Power Query now?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Now, because we are already familiar with Power Query from Excel, can somebody tell me, do you see anything that you did not already see in Microsoft Excel when you explored Power Query there? Let me try to get somebody. Okay. Joanne, do you have a question? I'm just seeing your comment.
Yeah, I actually did. It was around the workbook and CSV, but I think you played it up already. Thank you.
Oh, okay. All right. So now, is Simon there? Simon, can you hear me? If Simon is not there, let me call on Martha. Is Martha there? Martha, are you there? Oh, Martha, if you're saying something, you are muted. Okay. I don't think Martha is here with us. So let me call on somebody else. I think Oluwadamilola, are you there?
Yes, good evening.
Okay. Did you explore Power Query during the Excel class?
Yes, I was there.
All right. Okay. So I'm asking now, do you see any difference between the Power Query here and the Power Query used in Excel?
No, I can't. I don't know. I don't think there's any difference. Seems the same.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Okay. Hold on. Let me call on somebody else now. Prince, do you agree with Damilola?
Sorry, I'm lost. I didn't hear her speak, honestly.
Oh, okay. I was asking if Damilola noticed anything different between the Power Query here and the Power Query that was used in Excel. And she said she doesn't see any difference. So do you agree? Is Prince still there?
Yes, I'm here. There is no difference. There is no difference.
Okay. Oh, okay. Good. Now, just to be sure, Prince, are you still there?
Yes, I'm here. I'm
Okay,
here.
thank you. So you can mute your mic. Now, basically, just like we learned previously in the Excel class, one of the major functions of Power Query is that you can use it to load and transform data. So we are going to go through all of these columns one by one, and you are going to tell me if you people notice anything wrong with any column. Because whenever you load data into Power Query, like we learned from Excel, you see that to check if anything is wrong with the data, all you have to do is click on this green line underneath the column, and you would see if there are any blank columns or if there is any anomaly in the data itself. But as we can see here, this is showing that this column is okay. So I'm just going to scroll through and we're going to take, okay, this is in the right format. Now, can somebody tell me quickly what this 1, 2, 3 that is right next to quantity and what this ABC that is next to product class means from our knowledge from the Excel class? Like I said before, I'll just be taking us back on some of the things we have learned today, like a refresher. So somebody saying something.
Yes.
Thank
So
you. Yeah. Data type. All right, go on. I'm with you.
yes, I answered it now. So it's showing that the ABC simplifies in text format, whereas the 1, 2, 3 is in number format.
Okay, thank you for that. Now, please let's just gently observe and look at these columns one after the other. If you have it open on your end as well, let's just gently take a look at this. Now, do you think there's anything wrong so far, or we are good to go?
The
Price,
latitude,
price, sales, the price, number formats, it will change to currency
Okay.
formats. And also the year column is a number format.
Hold on. For the currency. Now, this data contains 2 countries, Germany and Poland. Now, part of being a good data analyst is being able to make extensive research. Now, if you are going to be converting the price and the sales into currency, we need to firstly check this data, where was it collected from? And we are going to go back to the country column and check the countries that are listed here. We have 2 countries, Germany and Poland. Now, Germany and Poland are both European countries. So what does that mean for the sales and the price columns? Anybody? What currency are we going to be changing it to?
euros.
Oh, okay.
Euros
Are you sure it's
better.
euros?
Yes, euros is better.
Oh, okay. Good.
This is
Thank you. Okay. So basically, to do that, we're going to be changing this by changing the data type. So we've already noted one thing we are going to change, that is changing the column of this, changing data type of this, changing data type of this. And somebody was saying something about the year column before. What are we supposed to change here?
Currently, it's in number format. We
Okay.
need to change it to date and possibly extract the year.
Okay. How about we just change it to text so that each year can remain distinct? Now, basically, the major reason why we have, as we can see, 2017, 2018, 2019, and 2020. We don't want this to add up as a number. If you load this into Power BI, this is going to add up as a column that contains numbers. So one way that I would go about it is that I would just change the data type to text, so that I would be able to use each of the years distinctly when I need to use them for a visual. So we're going to load this now, and if there's still a need for us to come back to
Sorry,
Power Query, yeah,
sorry.
go on.
I noticed the latitude stuff is in decimal,
Yes,
and
both
they are not,
of them.
and all of them are not like some of them are in one decimal place and some of them are in more decimal places. Can we reduce it, or it is
Now,
it's not
we
supposed to
would
be
have
made
taken
into?
time out to clean these columns. Are we together, Prince? Hello, Prince, can you hear me? Prince, if you're saying something, you're mute. I can't hear you.
Sorry, I was on call. Sorry. Come again. I was on call.
Yeah, okay. I was saying for the sake of the analysis we are going to perform in this, the longitude and latitude columns are not relevant to our the analysis we're about to conduct. So just stay with me and trust the process. Did you get that?
Yes, I
Yes,
did.
yeah. So before
Okay.
you continue, please, can you hear me?
Okay. Yes, I can. I'm with you.
So I don't know the column you wanted to change to currency, but I noticed that you didn't do that.
Yeah, that was intentional.
Okay, you didn't change it. You didn't change it to currency.
Yeah, I didn't change it intentionally. Yes.
Okay. Got that.
Okay. Thank you. Now, so let's go. Let's go straight into the. I'm going to close this and apply the changes. So I'm going to share the Power BI screen while the data is loading into Power BI. Now, mind you, Power BI can pull a lot of resources on your laptop, particularly depending on how large the data you are trying to load in is. So it's important to, when you are loading data, be patient with the data you are loading. Most importantly, if your system has maybe a 4 gig RAM or a RAM that's not so large, it's important to be patient in the process of loading. But luckily, this has gone on fast. So I'm just going to continue with that. I hope you can all still see my screen, please. Okay, thank you.
Sorry, I have a question. I don't know
Yeah,
if
please
I'm
go
lost
on.
or something. So I want
Okay.
to ask you a question. The data transformation you did, it wasn't
Yeah.
done on Power BI, right? You did it on Excel Power Query.
No, I did. Now, Power Query is also embedded inside of Power BI, just like an extension. Just like you have Power Query in Excel as well. It's a feature inside of Power BI, just like Power Query is a feature inside of Excel as well. Did you get that, Prince?
Yes.
So that transformation was done inside of Power Query, but we are still on Power BI because the end result is to bring the data into the reports view so we can take a look at the data. So is that okay?
Yeah, it's clear.
Okay, thank you. So now I created a page earlier. I called it page 2, and I'm just going to delete the home page that I created. You see this little X icon on the home page. I'll click on it and I'm going to delete it. All right. So then I'm going to rename this page. Let me just delete this. and call it page 1. Okay. Now, do you notice that on the right-hand side, we now have the data that we brought in? We can see each column here. Each column that is contained inside the data, we have channel, city, just similarly to when you had to firstly make pivot tables to use pivot charts in Excel. See this as a field that contains your data and the columns in it. That is to explain the data pane. Mind you, as we continue in the course of the teaching, we are also going to be exploring other tabs. We already brought in data. If you want to go back to Power Query, all you have to do is come and click on Transform Data, and it will take you back to Power Query. It will take you back to Power Query. Okay. If there's any change you make on your data that is not reflecting, you can always refresh. The data set will refresh. And there you go. Now, I said before that the table view would give you a spreadsheet view of your data set. It will give you a spreadsheet view of your data set. Please note, the table view is not Power Query. Are we together? The table view is not Power Query. Here you can perform some basic functions such as sorting and filtering, checking data type, changing data type, adding new columns. But as you can see, you do not have the functions or the features that allow you to transform data expansively like we do in Power Query. So the table view is not Power Query. I hope that is clear, or anybody has a question on that. Okay, so I'm just going to proceed. Now, can somebody explain to me, can somebody tell me, based on our knowledge of data modeling, why do we have this showing here in the model view? Why do we have this showing here in the model view? This time my pointer is on now. If you are speaking, please go ahead and say something.
Because it's only one table that we have.
Thank you. Now, what your model reveals is the numbers of tables that you have, or should I say the numbers of sheets that you have. If this was data modeling in Excel now, and we had 4, 5 tables in one workbook, all of those sheets would appear here as tables. So thank you very much for that. As you can see beneath here, we can see all tables down here. So thank you for that, Oluwadamiola. So let's go back to the report view. Now, the way I like to teach Power BI is one such as that. Every visual that you are making, you are answering a question with the aim to provide insights. I saw a few people share their works on LinkedIn, a few people published their writings on Medium, where they shared insights and recommendations. So maybe I show us a preview of what we are looking to achieve from here. Like I said before, for those who joined late, one of the things that we'll be looking to achieve in this series of teaching is that we want to build, at the very least, 2 dashboards. So I'm going to be sharing with us what we hope to achieve at the end of this. So please stay with me. All right. Can you see the screen? Can you all see my screen? All right, thank
Yes.
you. Okay, so basically, this is what we hope to achieve from this data set. This is what we hope to achieve at the end of this. We hope to build a report that is interactive and has multiple pages that we can navigate to and fro from. So basically, I'm going to take us back. For this data set, we are going to be answering 12 questions. So let me give us what I would call data visualization tips. Just like I said before earlier, that we have practice and we have best practice. Now, when you are visualizing, particularly in Power BI, one of the things that you need to consider is the canvas size. You see this part of your report that you are building in, where you see, I'm coming. This part of your report, where you see build visuals with your data, we call it a report canvas. We call it a canvas. Unlike Excel, where you have to clear out the grid lines and all of that before you start visualizing and insert your colors, shapes, and all of that. Part of the things that you should do when you're working on or in Power BI is that this your canvas, you can set the size. Now, if you click on the canvas, you see visualization right next here. So visualization is not just for selecting visual types, it's also for formatting the selected visuals. And as you can see, we have these two icons here. We have these two icons. The first one says add data to your visual. The second one says format your report page. The reason why it is not showing format your visual is because we don't have any visual here yet. I hope nobody is confused. I hope we are still together. Please, if you are confused, you can call my attention to it. So are we still together? All right, thank you.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Simon. Now, basically, this canvas, this is the size you will get by default. You see, we have page information, which is the first to tell you the name of the page. We have canvas setting. Now, in canvas setting, you are allowed to make a few changes. So, number one, the ratio, or should I say the size of the canvas. That's why you have various ratios here. So if I click on each of them, you see that the size of the canvas is adjusting. Can you see that as I'm navigating through these selections, the size of the canvas is changing? So I'm going to go back to the 16:9. Okay, from here. Then I'm going to select custom. Now, what does custom allow you to do? Unlike all the other canvas ratio, when you select custom, you are allowed to define the height and the width of the canvas to your own preference. So I'm just going to collapse the data pane. Now, if you notice, Beside these dotted lines, we still have a little bit of space in between, right on the left, on the right, and down beneath. So I'm going to come here. You see, we have these two buttons. You can increase the height as you deem fit. I'm just going to increase the height a little, and then I'm going to try to expand the width as well. Please take note, just try to be observant, and you'll see that the dotted lines are gradually adjusting as I'm increasing. Did anybody notice the change in the width of the canvas?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Martha. So basically, these are the foundational things that you must firstly do whenever you want to visualize. When I first started using Power BI, so it took quite a while to figure out that, okay, you can actually edit the canvas size, expand it if you want to make it larger. So basically, I'm just going to type in this. Instead of trying to expand manually, I'm just going to enter a value and say 1,500. Good. So you can see that I have an expanded width size. I'll go 1,000. Now, one thing that I want you to take note is that, let me reduce this again. You see these lines where you have filter, your canvas width cannot go beyond the filter. Your canvas width cannot go beyond it. So basically, when you go 1,450, max of maybe 1,005 at times, unless we want to start scrolling from right to left, if we exceed this way, but we want it to be viewable at one glance. So I'm just going to keep my width like this. Okay. Now, for the canvas background, you can see we have a white color. Here you're allowed to change your background. You click on this drop down and it will bring out a list of colors for you. If I click on this color, do you see that nothing changed? And I've already changed the color from white to purple. That's because the transparency is still on 100%. As I reduce the transparency, the color begins to show up. The color begins to show up. So the lesser the transparency gets, the deeper the color gets. This is why I was saying earlier before that when it comes to data visualization, we need to understand that there's an artistic side to it too. It's not just a science. You need to understand color combinations. You need to understand gradients in colors, particularly if you're going to be visualizing using specific colors. Maybe you are visualizing for an organization, or you are visualizing for a brand, or you have a preferred color that you'd like to use. So to data visualization, there's also an artistic side to it. If you wanted to use an image for your background, you can just select image and you see browse, add file. So if I have an image that I want to use here, I'm just going to click on browse and it is going to bring me to. So if I select any image now, let me try to select an image. Do I have an image? Okay, I think I do. Okay. Then you can adjust the image ratio, say normal fit. If you fit, it will fit the image to the ratio of your canvas. And if you press fill, it will extend it to fill in fully. So fit will still leave a little bit of space, particularly height-wise, but fill will fill up everything entirely. Are we still together? But for the sake of this, I'm just going to, we have right up here the undo and the redo buttons. So I'm just going to take out the image that I added because I wanted to use it for an explanation. Are we still together, please? Oh, okay. John Emeka is asking if there is a standard size or a best practice size of canvas. Now, John, what I'd like to say about canvas sizes, by default, whenever you come to Power BI, your default canvas ratio is always on 16:9. It's always on 16:9. In fact, most times, a lot of people don't bother to change the ratio size. So let me just give you a few tips that can help you when it comes to canvas size. The first thing is to understand if you already know the amount of questions you'll be answering, then you can decide, okay, I want to make this as large as it can get so that I can fit in as many visuals as I can. That being said, and also if you want to, as you can see, the dashboard, the report here, this dashboard now, it's not just, you cannot just expand it width-wise, you can also expand it height-wise. So these are the things that you need to consider. So I think, like I said, you see 16:9 as the default ratio, but you can use intuition and preference to make changes. So John, have I answered your question?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Now, after canvas background, we have wallpaper. I'm very sure some people are wondering, what's canvas background? What's wallpaper? Stay with me. Let me quickly explain the difference. Let's go back to our canvas ratio. Let me reduce this ratio to say 1,200. Now, do you notice that right behind this purple, there's still a space to the right and to the left that it didn't fill up because I reduced the ratio. So I'm going to come to wallpaper now. Let's now change the wallpaper color. So from what I just changed, can somebody tell me what they think is the difference between wallpaper and canvas background? I think I'm going to have to call someone. Okay,
The difference between
go.
the two is that where our charts are going to stay or our visual tools are going to stay is the background,
Are
while
you
the
still
underlay.
speaking? If you're still
Yes, I
speaking,
am
I
still
can't hear
speaking.
you.
Oh, maybe my network. I'm saying that where our visuals are going to be is the canvas background, while the underlay of that is the wallpaper.
Am I the only one who cannot hear? Oh, okay, I got that. Thank you, Opeyemi. Now, so basically, the wallpaper is the background of the canvas. So that portion of the report that your canvas does not fill in, the wallpaper fills it in. So thank you very much for that, Opeyemi. I'm just going to go back and expand my canvas ratio gradually. Now, as you can still see, you can see that the canvas background is not just to the side, it also affects the height as well. You can see there's still a shade of black underneath the. So whenever you want to make changes, it is always preferable that you change your canvas background and not your wallpaper. Okay. For the wallpaper, you can also insert images and set the feeds. So as we go on, we are going to be exploring some of these functions properly. So don't forget that we brought in our data. So did anybody come to this class ready to take notes, because I want somebody to help us note down a few questions that we'll be answering in today's using this data set. Okay, who's taking notes for me? Preferably in the chat. Preferably, I want you to send this to the chat if you don't mind, and also to the group. Okay, so who's taking notes for me? So the
Let me
first,
take notes.
okay, Damlola, thank you. I hope nobody's lost so far. I hope we are still together. Damlola, are you still there? All right. So let me just try to go to our group and okay. So we are going to be answering 12 questions. And these are some of the questions. The first question we are going to be answering is that we want to find channels by their quantity and price. Channels by quantity and price. Daniel, I'd like you to unmute your mic so that we'll move together. I know whoever is helping us drop this on the chat. Please.
I'm with you.
Okay. Channels by quantity and price. Sub-channels by quantity and price.
Is that two questions?
Yes. Sub-channels by quantity and price is the second question.
Okay.
Let me know if I can go on.
Okay.
Can I move on?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. We want to find months by their sales in 2018. That is months by sales in 2018. We want to find managers by sales in 2018 as well. Are we still together?
You said manager by sales, right?
Managers by sales. Yeah, yeah. Let me make it 8 questions.
Okay.
Okay, are we still together?
Yes, yeah.
Okay. Then we want to find sum of quantity by each sales team. The sum of quantity by each sales team in 2020.
By each sales what?
By each sales team in 2020.
Scheme.
Team.
Like scheme of work.
Team.
SCHEME.
Team as in TEAM.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm with you.
All right. We want to find managers by sales.
By sales, that's
Yeah.
question 4. That's with manager by sales. I've written it.
Sales made in 2017 to 2020. That's the difference
Okay.
between. Yeah. Okay.
In 20 what?
From 2017 to 2020.
Okay.
Are we still together?
I'm with you.
Okay. We want to find the quantity sold in the first quarter of 2020.
Sorry, I'm coming.
Sure, I'm with you.
In the first quarter.
Yeah, of 2020.
Okay.
And then we want to find the total sales in the fourth quarter of 2019. Now, can I quickly ask a question?
You said of
This is a
2019?
general question. Yes, of 2019.
Okay.
Yes, please. So that should be 8 questions. Yes, and I said 12.
Yes, that's it.
So maybe we should let's have KPIs. Now, from our Excel class, I saw that we built some visuals and I saw that we added some KPIs. So if I may ask, does anybody knows what KPI or what KPIs mean here?
That's key performance indicators.
Do you know what KPI means? Oh, okay. Thank you. So basically, key performance indicator. Damilola, did you visualize from the Excel classes? Did you make your report?
Yes, I did.
Oh, okay. So from the name key performance indicators, KPIs are simply, should I say, very important numbers to your business, to the source of the data. As you can see, the background check of this data is that it is for a pharmacy. So their KPIs would be certain numbers that are relevant to their performance. So Damilola, permit me to add a few more questions to that question that you have there. So these ones, they will be for KPIs.
Okay.
So are you still taking notes?
Yes, I am.
So for the key performance indicators, we want to find the total sales.
You said?
We want to find total sales,
Okay.
total quantity,
Okay.
the total number of cities, and then the total sub-channel. So in total, you should have 12 questions written down.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So keep that for me somewhere. If you can, help me send it to the group later as well. Oh, thank you. I see someone's just sent it. Is this? Oh, thank you. Now, I was saying something earlier that whenever you come to Power BI, part of the things, there are some things that you must already have known. And that's number one, the questions you'll be answering. Number two, how you want to structure. Knowing the questions you want to answer will determine how you want to structure your report. I saw some very amazing visuals from the Excel class. So that is why I'm not being laid back to have to go back on some things, because I see that we already know some things and we already tried some things. So now, for the sake of this, I'm going to be showing us how to lay structures in Power BI. Then from tomorrow, we will start visualizing proper. Now, when it comes to laying structure, the UI UX guys will call it framework. Just a quick tip, as a data analyst, see yourself as a generalist. You are a little bit of everything. For Excel, you need math and stats knowledge. For some formulas and functions. For visualization, you need basic artistic knowledge, basic design knowledge, color combinations, alignment of objects, chart selection, and all of that. Of course, some of us wrote reports as well. So you need good writing skills. Some of us even put ourselves out on LinkedIn and all of that. So you need a little bit of personal branding skills and all of that. So as an analyst, you are a little bit of everything. You are a generalist. So basically, I'm going to show us how to lay structures for dashboards. Now, just from the report that I showed you earlier, we are going to be working with myDataClique colors for this report. So that will mean that I'm going to be changing my background color to a shade of gray. If you can still see my screen, you can see that I don't have myDataClique colors in these color selections. So I'm going to come to more colors. When it comes to colors, there's something that we call Xcode. Xcode. And Xcode is simply color code. Digitally, every color has its own Xcode. No two colors have the same Xcode, no matter how similar they look to the eye. Digitally, no two colors have the same Xcode. Are we still together? Now, when it comes to selecting colors, I'm going to show you some very useful tools or some very useful sites that you can use for getting color codes when you want to select your color. But mind you, I already have the color code that I'm going to be using for my reports today. So I'm just going to go and copy them and come and paste them right there in the color codes pane. Please spare me a few seconds. If anybody has questions, now is a good time to ask. Okay. Now I have the color code for one of my myDataClique colors, and I'm just going to paste it here. Now, the moment I pasted this X code, you can see that the color changed. So this is the color I'm going to be using for my background. Now, the next thing I'm going to go ahead to do is to lay out the structure for. So we have 4 KPIs from the question and 8 visuals, 8 other questions. To lay out structure in Power BI, this can be defined by intuition. It doesn't have to, two people don't have to lay out the same structure. And that is where creativity comes in. So we lay out I'm very sorry about that. I lost the call for a second. Can you all hear me now?
Yes, but your
But we
screen
can't
is not
see your
restored.
screen.
Okay.
Okay, can you see my
Can
screen
see
now?
now. Yeah.
Oh, okay, thank you. Thank you. All right. So I was talking about laying structures when we do Power BI. Now, as you can see on the screen here, we have the background. We've already selected the background. If you want to lay your structure inside of Power BI, you come to the Insert tab and you bring in shapes. You bring in shapes. How many of you inserted shapes when you were building your Excel visuals? If you did, just unmute your mic and say, yes, I did. Yes, I did.
Yes, I did.
Yes, I did.
Okay. Okay. So that's the same way here. when we want to just see this as laying a framework. You are not visualizing yet too, but you are laying a framework for what, thank you, Anna, for what you want to build. So I'm going to select rounded rectangles and I'm going to lay shapes. Select this. Okay. Now I have a shape brought in. Then I'm going to start to adjust. You see these edges right about it? I'm just going to make adjustments. Now, I see that most of us, when we built our dashboards, when we built our reports, we put our KPIs at the top. Well, most times it's usually best practice to keep your KPIs where they would be visible. Because like Damilola said earlier, KPIs are key performance indicators. We don't want our KPIs to be somewhere where we are not going to be able to see them easily. And that's why most times, if your KPIs are not at the top, they can be at the left side. Because by default, we read from left to right, or we read from up to down. So that's why. I know some of us, we just did it like that because during the class, that was what we saw. Because the instructor did it like that. It's because on stakeholder end, normally as humans, we read from either left to right or from up to down. Are we still together? Is Winnie still on this call?
Yes, I am.
Okay. So what I'm trying to do now is to lay out a structure that works for this, for my KPI. I'm just going to leave this here. All I'm trying to do now is to make a few adjustments. All right, good. How many of you still remember slicer from Excel? Okay, Oladamola. So can Usman, can you tell me what did you use slicers for when you visualized? Oh, thank you, Joanne. So what did you use slicers for in Excel? Please, if you want to say something, go ahead. I'm listening. Okay.
To add interactivity to the
I'm listening.
to add
To add
interactivity
interactivity.
and also to filter some data points when needed.
Okay. That's nice. That's very good. Now, slicers are basically like, let me call them advanced filters. They allow us to add interactivity by using slicers that are basically advanced filters. So now, this blue, you can say, of course, this blue looks weird on this gray. So I'm going to get myDataClique's second color, that is a color, our second brand color. And I'm going to be using that as the background for my KPI. So I'll get the color code. Okay. Now, you see that I have this shape clicked on. This that was showing visualization before. You see, when I click on the shape, it's showing format shape here. But when I click on the background, it changes to visualization. So this visualization pane is interactive based on the elements you are working on. So because I'm working on a shape, it's asking me, do I want to format a shape? So I'm going to format the shape by clicking on format shape, expanding the pane, and then I'll come to style because I want to change the color of this shape. Please stay with me. I hope nobody's confused. All right. Okay. So I just copied the X code for my KPI. Good. Now, you can also make some changes to your shape. Now, look at the edge of this shape. You see, it is rounded. This is a rounded rectangle. You can come here and change the shape type. Say I want it to be like this. Change it to a peel. Say I want to change it to a solid rectangle. Say I want to change it to another type of shape. And as you can see, this is taking effect as I'm changing. But for this, I'm just still going to be sticking to my rounded rectangle, but I'll be reducing the corners. So you see this feature here. I'm going to leave it on 10%. Okay. Don't forget, it's still structure we are laying. We are still laying structures for what we hope will be the framework for our dashboard. Now, part of the things that will make your learning or your working in Power BI easy is what I call automation. That is, if you have done or designed something before, you don't have to do it again when you need it. All you have to do is copy and paste. So I'm going to select this shape that I've initially placed out. I'll copy it, Control C, and then I'll paste it, Control V. So you see, I now have two of it. I want to use this for my slicers. I'll adjust the size of this. So basically, my slicers will be somewhere on this side. Okay. Now, the next thing that I want to do is, because I have 8 questions, of course, I cannot put all of my 8 charts on one page. It will mean that I will use, maybe I can go 4 on one page, 4 on the other page, depending on the types of charts that I select and how I want to size them. But because we have an even number, it makes it easier for me to be able to split and say, okay, I will go 4 charts for each of the visuals. Now, I don't want to be repeating this process again for the next page. So all I'm going to do is to duplicate this page. Don't forget automation. That will make your work faster. So I'll click on page 1. I'll right click on it. And then I'll say duplicate. And I'll call it, instead of duplicate of page 1, I will call it page 2. So I have a framework on 2 pages, though we are still working on both. Now, from what I said earlier, how many questions do we want to answer on each page? How many questions are we answering on each page?
4.
Okay, so that means we should have 4 frames, or should I say 4 backgrounds for each of these. Now, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to copy this same shape. And then I'm going to adjust it. You see this red line here? It is acting as a guide to let you align the objects properly. So instead of using green, I want to change the color of this to white, the color of this shape. So if I want to change this shape that I'm on now to white, can somebody quickly tell me, how do I change from what I showed us earlier? How do I change the color of this shape here to white? Where do I go?
I haven't
Just to be sure we are
selected
still
it.
following.
I haven't selected it. I haven't selected the
Okay,
shape. You go to format shape.
all right. I'm a format shape. Where do I go from here then?
Then you go to the style. I mean, no, the shape. Is this shape or style now?
Okay,
Yes, the style. the shape that will give you different types, and then you change the color from there.
I'm
There is
following
the shape that will give
you.
you. No, you are going to the style. It's the shape that will
Wherever
shape
you say I
the
should go, that's
sizes
where
and
I'll
all
go.
that. No, the styles. That's where you are going.
Because there's no law on shape. Let's check style now.
Yeah, that's what
So
I'm
this
saying.
is style. Okay. So what do I do from here?
From the styles, you change the color. You click on the drop down to change the color.
About that, I lost the call for a few minutes due to my network. I'm very sorry. So you were saying something about changing the shape earlier.
No, I was saying that
Okay, Miss
the
Latibi, I'm
shape.
still with you.
Yeah, I said the shape is to format the type of shape. Maybe we want to change to rectangle and all that, but the style will
Okay.
help us to change the color. Then when we are on the
Okay.
style, we change the color under the field where we have that. Yeah, that's where you're going to change the color. We can see white there, white in between green and black. Then we select it, or maybe
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
Yeah.
All right. Oh, okay. Good. Thank you. I want to use white. All right. Thank you. Now, good. So basically, okay. I'm sorry, can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay. So that means if it's 4 questions per page, it means we're going to be needing 4 of these. So what am I going to do now that I need 4 of these shapes? What am I going to do? Adeyemi, is Adeyemi still here with me? If you're saying something, you're muted, Adeyemi. Okay, Usman, Okoyemi, please go ahead.
Yeah, we'll duplicate this.
So how do we duplicate it?
Okay, we can right click. Is it right click now? Have you?
So basically, the
Oh,
way to
that
do it
place.
is just to your Control C and your Control V, your copy and paste, they still work here. So you just Control C by selecting that shape, and then you Control V to paste it.
I think Control D should do the same.
So did you get that?
Yeah.
Yeah, Control D duplicates. Hold on. Sorry. If you are with me, Prince, who said Control D now? Was that Prince?
I did.
Okay, Oluwadamilola.
Oluwadamilola.
Now, Control D does not duplicate here. See now, let me press Control D for you. This is Control D now. Can you see? So you have to, if you want to duplicate, you have to copy and then paste. So do you get that?
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. I know Control D works in Excel. Now, can you see red lines that are beside that as I'm moving the shape? Can you see certain red lines that are moving with them? Can you see the red lines? We call these red lines the alignment lines. They help you to keep your shapes in alignment, to keep them in order so that everything is not just all over the place. So basically, I'm still going to now copy this and paste it one more time. So let's maximize the space that we have. Now, it will be quite a lot of work to go and start doing this again on this page. So what I'm going to do is to take down this page and duplicate the first page again. I'll call it page. I'm very sorry, please pardon me tonight, guys. So now, basically, did you get it to the point where I had to duplicate what I had done on the first page to lay out the framework for the second page? Now, this is how automation works in Power BI when you're trying to lay out frameworks for your works, for what you're about to design. Now that you have decided this, then you have to also then decide what are the other things that you would like to add to this. So who sent the questions earlier? Can you help me with the questions for the KPI? If you are there, I would be glad. Just give me one or two questions from the KPIs. I think it was Damilola who helped us with the question.
Total sales, total quantity.
Okay. Okay. We have total sales and total quantity. Now, on to the most, should I say, important part of Power BI now, which is the visuals themselves. So we want to find total sales and total quantity. Mind you, I said those questions are under key performance indicators. So that means if you want to visualize a key performance indicator, it has to be a number. Are we together? It has to be a number. Now, one major thing that might hinder your work when you lay your framework yourself in Power BI is that all the shapes are still alive. If you move your pointer on them now, they will still move. So the way I go about it is after laying the background, to ensure that these objects are not alive, what you will do is that you will take a screenshot, you will take a snip of this and then insert it as an image. So I'm going to do that now. Do you understand what I just said now, or you want me to explain it again? Please, if you don't understand. So I'm just going to explain it again. Now, if you look at these shapes, you will see that these shapes, they are still alive, they are still moving. You can make a mistake while editing and just, it will be a lot of stress trying to keep the shapes in check. Take a screenshot. Okay, Simon, don't worry, I'm taking time to explain it again. These shapes, they are still alive. You see, they are still movable. They are still interacting like normal objects. It will mean that whenever you want to visualize, these shapes are also still objects. And we don't want it to be an object. We just want it to be a background. That's all we need it to be. Just a background on which
You're muted, or it's me not getting him.
Okay, can you guys hear me now? Can you see my screen? I'm very sorry once again. So Simon, I hope you are still with me. If you are with me, go ahead and say something. Can Simon hear me?
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah.
Can every other person hear me? Just to be sure it's not my network.
Yes, I can hear you.
Oh, okay. So now I was saying that all these objects, they are still alive. These shapes that we decided to use for our background will be movable. Thank you. They will still be editable. And all we need this to be is to be a background, nothing more than a background. So we are going to go out and take a screenshot, like we want to snip this, and we will insert it as an image. I'll show you the process. So on your laptop, the first thing you do is search for your snipping tool. You search for your snipping tool, then you take a snip of the background. You take a snip of the background. So I'm going to say, okay, you ensure that you are snipping from
Can anyone hear him? Am I the only one?
Okay.
I can't
So
hear
can
him
you
either.
hear me now? Can you hear me? Sorry, can you guys hear me?
Yes, it's clear now.
Yes, now.
Okay. Now, after taking the snip, because you now have the image for the background, one after the other, you now start to delete these elements. One after the other, you start to delete them because they've already served their use. Then the snip will bring it back like a canvas background. So Prince, if I want to insert an image as a canvas background, like I showed you earlier, how will I go about that?
So I think I missed that part too, honestly. Can you hear me? Can anyone hear me?
Prince, can you hear me? Are you there?
Yes, I'm here. I'm here. Can you hear me?
Okay, so asking you that as my background, how do I go about it? Anybody who wants to help us with that? If I want to change this background now, how do I go about it?
Yeah, I want to make an attempt.
Yeah. Oh, okay. All right. I'm with you.
Okay, I think we'll select a visualization pane.
Okay.
Then from
I'm
there,
here.
on the
Okay.
two icon, the icon that looks like script, the one on the left.
Okay.
Then we
Okay.
go to canvas background, or is it wallpaper now? Okay, it's background.
Okay.
Canvas background.
Yeah, canvas background. Okay.
Okay. Then we browse image to bring in the background.
Okay. All right. So I'm just going to go and find the image. Okay. So this is the image. Okay. Now, if I want to adjust it, you can see that I didn't bring it in the way I want. If I want to adjust it, what would I do? What will I change here, Opeyemi? Or does anybody want to tell us so we can call it a night after we
Change the
bring it?
image
Adjust
fit
the image
to
fit.
yeah.
Oh, okay. So am I going feel or fit? Which of them?
Fill.
Okay. Let me go. Okay. So now let's take a look at it. Do we have our background? Okay. Good. So we're going to duplicate this. So we have our 2 pages ready for tomorrow's work. So before I call it a night, does anybody have any questions? Any question they want to ask? Maybe for when they want to practice this on their own. If you have a question, please ask now. Adeyemi, do you have a question? Oh, okay. Please, if you have a question, go ahead.
Like when you are inserting the image,
Okay.
where do you click for it to appear on the canvas? I didn't see that.
Oh, okay. I came to, can you see my screen still?
Yes.
So canvas background, then I clicked on image. When I clicked on image, it will ask me to browse, that is to go and select the folder where I save the picture I want to bring in. So from the moment where I select the image, it will bring it in. All I have to do is just to change the image fits, and that is all.
Okay.
Yeah. So let me give you people 2 options, and I know you are probably going to pick the easier option. Do you guys want me to send you the screenshots, or you would like to try making your own yourself?
Give us till
Would you like
tomorrow.
me?
If we cannot make it ourselves, we'll have the school.
All
Personally,
right,
I
all
was
right.
able to
We'll
do
have it.
Okay, no problem. So I'm going to give everyone till tomorrow, and if you're struggling with it, you can just reach out to me on the group, and I'll send you the screenshots that we use for our framework.
Sorry, if we are to do it on our own, are we using the same color?
Oh, okay. Well, and I don't put it. I like it when my students are creative and don't do it exactly the way I did it. But for the sake of achieving similar results, you might want to try the same colors.
Okay, in that case, could you please send the code?
Yes, I will. I'll be sending the codes to the class in a few minutes' time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Prince. I'm very sorry about my network tonight. It has been so unstable. I'm very sorry about that. All right, so is there any other person asking a question? Any question before I call it
Yes, it's me. Yeah.
a night? Okay, please go ahead.
So my question is that maybe I'm being faster than my shadow. I don't know. So
Okay.
why did we after creating the background, the framework, like you said, and then we now deleted it and did a screenshot and uploaded back. So what could be the reason why did we do that?
Okay, thank you. Now, let me firstly say this. There are so many ways in which you can build frameworks. I have friends who use external applications such as PowerPoint, such as Figma, to build their own framework and save it as a picture and bring it in here. But Power BI also has shapes that you can use to lay out your framework. And the framework is just like laying a foundation when you're trying to build a house. The framework determines the structure of your dashboard and eventually your report. So the reason why we had to delete those shapes is because the shapes were still interactive. All we want it to be is to be a background. Just the same way when you build a house, the foundation, which is the most important part of the house, is probably not visible. But you know that, yes, this house was laid upon a foundation. So we just want it to be a background. We don't want it to be interactive. So that's why we had to structure it, then take a screenshot so we can bring it in as an image. Now you can see this is not alive. I'm moving my pointer across it and it's not selecting any of these shapes, but it is still fixed in the background. So I
So
hope
can
it,
this same thing, yes, it's clear. Can this same thing be replicated on Excel if you are building a dashboard using Excel? Is it possible?
yes, it can. As long as you are able to insert shapes, structure it, take a screenshot, and bring it in back as an image. Yes, it can.
I've done
So,
mine, it has perfectly.
oh, okay. So do you guys understand that? Okay. So any other questions? Is anybody asking questions again? Damilola, thank you so much. You've been so interactive tonight, yourself and a few others. Is there a way we could have grouped them together? Now, basically, you see, the thing about frameworks, Tawakalitu, is that when it comes to laying frameworks, as long as you are using shapes, the shape will be interactive because the shape is an element on its own. If you talk to a designer now and you say elements of design, they will say shape, text, color, and a few other things. And part of what makes visualization in Power BI proper is that almost every element on it that is not an image should be interactive. Sliders are interactive, the visuals are interactive, the KPIs and all of that, unless you are using icons and images. Even the icons, to an extent, you can make them interactive. So basically, I've answered your question, Davies. If you are good with that, you can just say yes in the chat so I don't leave your question unattended to.
Sorry, concerning the icons.
Yes.
when we're still on Excel, Miss
Mm-hmm.
Blessing taught us how to, because he said that Excel has its own icon source, kind of.
Yeah.
Does Power BI also have?
Well, Oluwadamilola, are you going to permit me to leave you in suspense till we get there? Because
Okay.
I've got a few
Okay.
things planned with regards to icons
Okay.
and all of that. Yeah.
Thank you. No.
So I'd like to thank everybody for joining tonight and joining on time. Thank you for your time. So what I'd like to say is ahead of tomorrow, try to lay out your framework. I'll send the color codes. I'll send Damilola, please help me send the questions to the group again so that tomorrow we don't have to start going over the questions again. And tomorrow we'll start as early as we can so that we can end on time. I've taken 13 extra minutes of our time. So thank you very much, everybody. I hope
Thank you
to
very
see you
much.
tomorrow again. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks, everyone. Good night.
Yeah, good night, guys. Good night.